Well, we are just over a week away from the start of Navy football season. They begin things next Saturday at noon at home against VMI. Coming off an outstanding season, joining us once again here on the program, he is Coach Brian Newberry. He is with us here on GCR. Coach, it's Glenn. It's great to see you, man. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Yeah, great to see you. Thanks for having me on.
I know that you are all on to this year. I understand that's the way that it works, right? But everything good that came from last season, I know there's still bigger goals, right, to win the conference, everything like that. What did
Yeah.
it do for the program? What did it do for all of the guys who were back to have gone through a year like that, to sort of see all of this come to fruition the way that you guys intended when you took over?
Yeah. Well, I'd say that you kind of said it, past success doesn't determine future success. And I think it's important to understand that. But it certainly does create a sense of confidence, a sense of expectation in your program and what you're capable of doing when you do things the right way. Had a good feeling going into last season about our team, about the character of our team, about the work they put in. In the off season, I felt like we did all the right things, to prepare, embrace the process and the work the way that we needed to. And I thought we were a team that going into the season deserved to have some success. Obviously didn't know what that was going to look like, but turned out pretty good. And and I'm at a point again where I feel really good about our team based on the way they've embraced things going back to January. And, I think the mentality of, right, how can we evolve? How can we continue to get better? How can we do things better than they've ever been done before? And not lean on last year, but build on last year and the legacy that the senior class left. How can we honor that and build on that? And I think we've done that. And so I feel good about that part of it. You always have concerns. This time of year going into the seasons, you're always going to have some concerns, maybe some deficiencies here and there, and areas where you don't have as much depth, things like that. And so we're working through some of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
A little banged up from camp, like probably everybody is, but I feel good about this team. I feel good about the leadership and good about the work. Going back to January and maybe the most consistent team as far as upholding the standard on a consistent basis that I've been around in a long time. So a lot of reason for optimism for sure. Based on the work and based on some of the returning pieces, some of the new pieces that I'm excited about as well. So optimistic.
I wanted to follow up, and you kind of allude to it a little bit. I wondered if you had to have any conversations where, like, don't get complacent had to be a message at all this off season, or if maybe given like what the group accomplished, they didn't need that. They didn't need to hear it from you guys because they
Yeah.
knew themselves and they were ready to build off of it.
Yeah, I think we have a little bit of both of that. You got to make sure that there's no sense of entitlement or a
Mm-hmm.
feeling that we've arrived by any stretch of the imagination. My first year was 2019. We won 11 games. The following year we won three. So you're just 1 year removed from. And the previous year before the 11 wins, it was a team that won 4 games. So each year is its own. This is a different football team. Um, so you keep them humble, but I don't think, when I say confidence, there's not a sense of arrogance by any stretch of the imagination. I think guys know that we're not going to sneak up on anybody. That we're going to have a little bit more of a target on our backs now. And so the message was going back to January, hey, we're still the hunter. We're still the team that's the underdog. We're still the team that has a chip on our shoulder, something to prove all the time. And we've got to play with an edge. We're going to have to fight and claw and scratch, for everything that we get. There's only a few times this year where we're going to be as talented as the teams that we're playing, and our guys know that. So there's a formula to win here, and our guys know exactly that.
Coach Brian Newberry from Navy is with us here on GCR. Coach, you do bring back a lot of your offense, particularly the skill position players, but nothing can do more for a program, I would think, than bringing back an experienced, outstanding quarterback.
Yeah,
What does that do for everybody? Like, we know how good Blake is. You don't have to tell us how good Blake is. We all saw it.
sure.
But
Yeah.
what does that do for the entirety of the program to have the confidence in the guy that's under center, to not have to worry about that? How does that lift everyone?
He elevates the guys around him. There's no question, just being on the field and the confidence that those guys have in him. So it's great to have your quarterback back, especially a guy like Blake Horvath, second year in the system. Prior to last year, he had three different offensive coordinators, and so to have him in the same system for 2 years, it's really cerebral, really really smart. His comfort level now is much farther ahead than it was, a year ago. And what we're able to do with him in regards to choicing some things or getting us into the right play, our coach Cronick's confidence and familiarity with him. Just another year, and he's a guy that had a really good off season. He's put on some weight, and we knew going in to the off season that was a priority for us to be able to keep him healthy. He needed to gain some weight, and he did that, and he's continued to progress. And what people don't talk about a lot, Glenn, are the pieces around him. We've got some really, really good skill players around him. We're better at wide receiver than we were a year ago.
Okay.
And arguably the second most important piece, right, is your offensive line. And that's the part for us is maybe our biggest concern right now. And some talented guys and some good players coming back in the interior, but some inexperienced guys on the outside. Guys are talented, but are going to have to come along for us to be who we want to be offensively.
Wait,
There's some.
Are you starting two sophomores at tackle? Is that the plan?
Yeah, but potentially, that may be up to a game week.
Okay.
But we're working through that stuff right now, and you go through camp and you get banged up a little bit. And you have to move guys around and try some different things. And I think it's an O-line that's going to continue to get better and better. But that's a piece that's going to really come along. It's going to be really important part of our success this year.
You bring up those skill position players around Blake, and obviously we saw Eli and Alex, how good they were a year ago, and Nathan Kent. Who else has stepped up that you feel like is ready to be a bigger contributor offensively this season, Coach?
Yeah. Well, the name you didn't mention is Brandon Chapman,
sure.
Who had a good year for us last year. And he's a guy that's with some injuries. He's healthy. He may have one of the best camps of any of our offensive players. Just a dog, undersized kid, is really dynamic, playmaker. You mentioned Tesca, I think ready to have a breakout year. And obviously Eli Heidenreich, I think, is a special player. But we've got depth behind those guys now. Luke Hutchinson at wide receiver has been a guy that's made a lot of big plays for us in fall camp. And the combination of him and Nathan Kent out there, both those guys can knock the top off the coverage. Josh Guerin's another wide receiver that can run. And so what we do offensively, if you have an X receiver out there, you're going to get a lot of one-on-ones. You feel good about throwing the ball up too. It's going to make some plays that really changes things for us. But we've got a lot more depth, a lot more playmakers at the skill positions, than we did a year ago. A guy like Charles Robinson, who was a quarterback, we moved him to slot.
Okay.
He's playing that snipe position for us. He's been a pretty dynamic playmaker, going back to spring football and then fall camp, just really a guy that's gotten better every day. And so we've got a lot of good skill on the offensive side of football that I'm excited about.
It sounds like you're almost asking defenses to stuff the box against you, Coach. Like, please, go right ahead. We'd love for you to try that.
Yeah, well, I think that's what's great about what we do. We want to be able to run the football. We have to be able to run the football here at the Naval Academy. But to have the ability when people are doing that to make them pay for it. The idea is to run the football and be deadly efficient when we do throw it. And with the quarterback we have right now, we've got the ability to do both those things. And really love what we're doing schematically. Love the way we're structured and built. Love what Coach Kernick's done with the offense and how we've added a few wrinkles. And that thing will always continue to evolve. And he's a master at that and really, customizing the offense to the personnel and what we do really well. He's really, really good at that. Excellent play caller. And but we got a lot of guys that need to get their hands on the football, and it's good to have options for that. Makes us a little less predictable, right?
Well, I love the sounds of it. Coach Brian Newberry with us here on GCR from Navy. Coach, on the defensive side of the ball, two particularly quality football players, but I think the leadership part is the part that's interesting. And losing Colin Ramos and Ray Lane, who obviously has found his way with the Jaguars. How do you go about not just the quality, again, what they brought to the field, but what they brought leadership-wise? How do you go about replacing that this season?
Yeah, big shoes to fill. Really, really hard to replace those guys. You look at a guy like Ray Lane, who's obviously a special talent that we don't see here often at the academy, who played 43 straight games, for us going back to his freshman year. So that's almost impossible to replace, obviously, that experience. And he was really an eraser, back there in the secondary. When something did break, there was a good chance he was going to run it down and give us a chance to play another snap. Really difficult to replace. Colin Ramos, phenomenal leader, also played as a freshman and played a ton of snaps for us. And the great thing about the Naval Academy, we are truly a developmental program. And there's always guys that are buying their time, putting in the work, that are behind those kind of great players. And so I'm excited about the guys that we have coming up. Really excited about our 2 linebackers. Right now, Job Grant, who's a 6'2 and a half, 230-pound kid that can run. At Mike, Mark Anthony Parker, is a good sized will linebacker who Coach Volker, our defensive coordinator, says maybe one of the smartest linebackers he's ever coached.
Wow.
And a really good athlete too. So I'm really excited about those guys. And we have some pieces, in the secondary. I feel good about our corners. We have some talented safeties, but those guys are guys that don't have a lot of game experience, but I'm excited about the potential there. We're really athletic on defense, maybe as athletic as we've ever been. Here we've got some size up front, some depth up front.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt to have a Landon Robinson up front.
No. And when you talk about leadership, it doesn't get a whole lot better than what he's provided, as one of our captains. And very similar to what Blake Horvath does for the offense, he does for the defense. Phenomenal young man, great leader, and a really good football player who I think had a good year last year. He's primed to have a big-time breakout year.
Coach, we've I've never asked you this specifically because I didn't know what position you guys are going to be in, but we know what the goals are for Navy football. And last year was you beat Army, right? Like you win the CIC. Those are the goals. Do you talk openly about winning the league, getting into the do you discuss those things, or are you too what's in front of me? We don't go down that road.
That's a great question. We have goals in this program, and I think they're kind of unspoken a little bit. Don't talk about winning a lot. Don't talk about those goals a ton. We talk.
Oh, Coach, I apologize. I think we got you frozen. Chatting with Coach Brian Newberry here on GCR, Navy football coach with us, and we'll see if we can't reconnect with him. In the meantime, I will remind everyone that today's show is brought to you by, this one's going to be brought to you by Game Day Men's Health in Owings Mills, Frederick, and Columbia. Of course, whatever it is that you're dealing with as a man of a certain age, you may be struggling, Game Day Men's Health can help. Get a free testosterone test by going to GameDayMen'sHealth.com. You can give them a call, Game Day Men's Health in Owings Mills, 443-264-4454. Game Day Men's Health in Columbia, give them a call, 443-266-3505. Or if you're headed out west, Game Day Men's Health in Frederick, 240-931-3717. You're just not the same age that you were. Things are different in your 40s than they were in your 20s. You don't feel the same. For me, it was feeling sluggish. It was feeling run down. And so I turned to Game Day Men's Health, and they helped me out. I thought I might be low T. As it turns out, I just needed a little pick-me-up. The peptide proteins did the trick for me. And for you, it could be anything. It could be an awful lot of things that could solve the problem. I encourage you to turn to Game Day Men's Health, GameDayMen'sHealth.com. All right, I think we got Coach back. Coach, apologies. I know you were talking about how you've got goals, but you try to keep everything right in front of you.
That's right. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's my fault. And we lost internet here in the building for some reason. But, we don't talk a lot about winning. We talk about the things that are necessary to produce those outcomes. And so the coach talk around here is let's go 1-0. Let's focus on the task at hand, whether that be a meeting or a weight room session or being in the training room and to be where our feet are and not put the cart before the horse, so to speak. And so it's about embracing the process and the work and doing the things that give us a chance to be successful around here. And I mentioned earlier, being a team that deserves success. You can't get too far ahead of yourselves. And of course, we want to win the CIC. We want to win our conference. And if you win our conference, you have a chance to get yourself into the college playoff. And that would be the ultimate goal. But we don't talk about it a ton. We talk about what's right in front of us and what's necessary, and upholding the standard around here.
How many of your brethren in the coaching ranks reach out to you in the off season with jealousy that you're not dealing with the stuff that they're dealing with?
Yeah, quite a few,
Yeah.
quite a few. I've got a lot of friends out there coaching a lot of different places, and have great jobs at really good places. But certainly, it's frustrating times for coaches, rightfully so. And you get in this profession to build relationships, to make an impact and make a difference. And it's not that it's impossible to do right now. It's become more difficult for sure.
How impressed are you by these young men that because they do have the option, right? Like they could choose to move on. How impressed
Sure.
are you that these young men, when they make this commitment, overwhelmingly, they stay. They're here. They are sticking it out with you, and this is what they want to do.
Yeah, super impressed. As a coach, you're supposed to be the inspirational one here, and these guys, they inspire us, on a daily basis. And it's fun to be a part of a culture like this where these guys, it's about more than football here at the academy. These guys are midshipmen, that play football, and they embrace that. They embrace the service piece of things, and so it's fun to be around that. It's fun to be around a bunch of unselfish guys that put the team before everything else. And in these days with the transfer portal, we certainly have guys that could have put their name in there and had some options and been able to make some money. But they see the value and the degree from the Naval Academy. They love their brothers here, and they know that while we don't do NIL and those kind of things here, it's NIL here is on the back end of getting that degree and
Yep.
serving their country, and it's something that's going to last them the rest of their lives.
And it's going to change your life. There's no question about that. Coaches, as we wrap, I'd be remiss. You and I haven't spoke since Pete's passing, and
Yeah.
I know from being around the program, I know the relationship you had, and can you tell us what Pete meant to you, what he meant to Navy, what he meant to everyone in that community?
Yeah, well, everybody that knew Pete loved him. He was a special human being and phenomenal at his job. Was super passionate about the Naval Academy and about our players, and it was. I think about him all the time, and I'll never hear into the checkerboard end zone, or
Mm.
we'll never score another touchdown where I don't hear his voice, in the back of my head. But great human being, first and foremost. It was great at his job, and we certainly still miss him around here and think about him often.
There's no question about that. Touchdown Navy midshipman, no doubt
Yeah.
about it. It is cool that Keenan is back involved with the program. I think for all of us, I think that's a really special thing, knowing that he's going to be around on game day.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a special player here, and another special young man. He's not young anymore, but we're glad to have him back.
Love that. Coach Brian Newberry, we are very excited about what is ahead for your team this season and the opportunities that are there for what you can do. And, of course, all of that starts as you're only worried about the one. That's next Saturday, of course,
Right.
at home, and starting it off 1-0. Coach, appreciate you taking the time for us. We'll be checking in throughout the course of the season. Thanks for doing this, and go get
Well,
them, all right?
thanks, Glenn. Appreciate you.